Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Sports Gossip Girls podcast. I'm Madison.
I'm Hannah.
I'm Isabella.
And today we are joined by Eric Hubbs, who is the Yankees writer and blogger for Barstool Sports. Eric, thank you so much for joining us today.
Honor to be here, ladies. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So when did your passion for the Yankees begin, and why?
There's pictures of me wearing Yankee stuff probably the second day I was alive. So my dad pretty much forced it upon me. That was his number one thing. Baseball's always been my number one passion. And for other people, it's basketball and football and all that. But I can just sit at in front of a TV and watch baseball for 15 straight hours and not get bored for a second. And obviously going to games is the best. I think anyone will say baseball is the best sport to attend live, by far. Probably because you don't have to pay attention to the field the entire time. You can have a beer, a hot dog, you walk around, whatever. But I've just always loved baseball and the Yankees. Obviously, growing up in New Jersey, it's always been them.
You just said going to Yankee games. There's nothing beats that. What's the best Yankee game you've been to, or the best Yankee memory you have?
Okay. I've never really been to a milestone or anything like A-Rod's 500th or Jeter's 3000. I didn't go to those. Let me think. I grew up poor. I still am poor, but we never went to playoff games when I was growing up. So now working for Barstool, I was able to do that, which was cool. But we went to a lot of bad playoff games recently. I'm trying to think, what's the craziest game I've ever been to? Oh, I always say this. So it was a regular season game. I want to say in 2018. That could be 2017. But the Yankees rallied against Kimbrel. Gardner hit a triple in the ninth that tied it, and I think, in the bottom of the eighth, Gardner rallied against Kimbrel. They hit a triple that tied it, and I think Judge went dead center off the Mohegan Sun scoreboard. It was the line drive that it might be still going, and the place just went crazy. And Carabas was with me, the Red Sox guy at Barstool, and he was miserable. And I think we did that night I want to move back to Boston, and it was just that was a euphoric night. There was last year Gardner hit a grand slam against the Red Sox, I think in the eighth inning. That was awesome to be at. There's actually a picture of us in the background from a Getty image of a photographer, which is funny. I was at Judge's 495-foot home run against the Orioles that cleared the bleachers. I've never seen anything like that in my life, so I probably never will. I guess if I was there last night for Giancarlo's homer, that would have been probably right there. But it's pretty much those three, I guess. I've been to me and my dad would always end up being at Hideki Matsui walk-off games. No matter what happened, he would just always he was a big fan of getting up from our seats to walk down rows to beat the traffic, because we knew Matsui was about to go walk off. So we'd watch from the concourse, still being able to see the field, but we'd know he was about to do it, and then he'd do it, and we'd laugh on the way to the car, beating all the traffic. So now those are the memories I have.
That's awesome.
And so you said that you grew up loving baseball. What was your dream job growing up? Did it have to do with baseball? Is it this?
Once I realized I was just going to be 5'9" and nothing impressive with athleticism, although I am a good athlete. Don't kid yourself. But once that dream faded, I always obviously wanted to be a baseball player. Getting into some sort of sports media was always the dream. And I would always play video games as a kid and mute the TV because I don't care what they're saying in the video game, and I'd announce the game. So being a baseball announcer or a basketball announcer, something like that. And obviously Sports Center, you always want to grow up being the Sports Center anchor and all that. And then eventually I realized, well, that's just not going to happen. So maybe be a sports agent. Then I realized how much work goes into that. You have to go to school. You have to go to college for 8 years because you have to get your lawyer's degree and then a normal degree. I was like, well, I'm not doing that. So eventually all those aspirations faded, and I was left with almost nothing. And then all of a sudden Barstool happened. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. So I got lucky.
Great. Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Who was your favorite player growing up for any team, I guess, or the Yankees?
Derek Jeter is the default, so I won't give you that because everyone grows up wanting to be Derek Jeter and raising your kid to be Derek Jeter and just being as cool and collective. And, his lineup of girls that he would go through was just – it was inspiring to a guy growing up. But Hideki Matsui, to me, is like my guy. Godzilla. Unrelated, but I am a huge Godzilla fan, just like the dinosaur guy. So I love that. But he was just a rock, and he was just he was one of he joined the core four. He didn't join the core four, but he carried himself as if he was on the late 90s Yankees teams. So stoic but clutch, would always get the job done, and secretly was this good dude in the clubhouse who would tell jokes and pranks and all that, although he would refuse to speak English to the media. But he was just so clutch. He was a Red Sox killer. He was a monster in the 2009 World Series. I actually get chills even thinking about what he did in the World Series. But to me, it's always Matsui. It's always been Godzilla for me.
Yeah, he fit in perfectly.
Yeah.
You mentioned basketball announcing. Did you ever consider working professionally for that, seriously?
Not really. So the closest I guess I ever got, when people told me I should be doing it, in fourth grade, so our school system was K through 3, 4 through 6, 7 through 8. And in fourth grade, they would do morning announcements. And they would have a weather person do the weather, and that person was terrible. But he was actually my buddy, but he knew he was terrible. And then they do a pop culture little minute. And I went up to the principal, Mr. Reed, and I was like, hey man, and he doesn't know me. I'm literally a fourth grade shrimp. And I'm just like, you think I could do a minute of sports once a week, recap things or whatever? And this is when no one has phones that you're checking, you're getting tweets and all that. This is fourth grade. This is 2004. And he's like, sure. He's a big sports fan. He's like, yeah, give it a shot. And then eventually it was so good that he goes, you want to do Monday and Friday? And I was like, okay. And so that was just off of a speaker. And then eventually they for whatever reason, my luck, that in fifth grade they developed the TV system. So it would be morning announcers through almost like you're doing the news. And then later that year they got a teleprompter. So it was super legit all of a sudden. Yeah. And it people kind of look forward to it Mondays and Fridays. And I would write up a sports report every Sunday and Thursday. And I'd always have my dad read it. And he would sometimes rip it up in front of me if it was bad. And that's why I've always loved constructive criticism. Be as harsh as you want. If you're not harsh on me, I know you don't care. You're just handing this back to me. He was this has to be good. So he would make me rip it up. And I'd write these at night. So I'd have to be up late typing these up, and he wouldn't kind of go to sleep until I had it done. So that was cool. And yeah, that kind of became a thing. I think in so as I was leaving in sixth grade, fifth grade, they tried to throw someone in on Wednesdays. They were like, let's switch, let's do two people. Person was basically booed off the stage. They were so bad. It made me feel good. At first I was I'm being threatened here. This is my job. And then eventually, after a month, they were like, yeah, all right, you're just the guy. No one else can do this. But in sixth grade, as I was leaving, I actually held a contest to replace me, which was, looking back, so ridiculous. And people would submit resumes and reports and all that. Some of them were so bad. And I think I picked this one kid, and I remember the school was right near me. So I go back and visit teachers the year after, whatever. And they were it was never the same. No matter what, so I always liked that I was always the best. I don't know if they do it anymore. Well, they don't have school anymore because of COVID. But as I was leaving, sixth grade, I had teachers tell me, you should go to Syracuse, seriously, start thinking sixth grade. But they were you should go to Syracuse. You have a future in this and all that. So I was oh, that's cool. And then when I got to seventh grade, they just didn't do it. They didn't do the TV announcements. So the dream just died right there. My mom wanted to go so I grew up in Central New Jersey, and I went to just a public high school. My mom wanted me to go to this high school called Wall High School, which is where TV people would go. Yeah. But they were all just weirdo nerds, and I all my friends were in my and I'd have to take a bus that was an extra hour. So I was listen, if it's gonna come together, maybe it'll happen in high school, whatever. But we'll do without it in middle school. And then it kind of just disappeared from there. But fourth through sixth grade, I felt like a rock star. So that was when I kind of had hope of this. And then it dissipated after that with laziness and not caring.
That's an awesome story, though.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever really told that on a podcast. So you guys got the exclusive.
Thank you for that. What would you say your favorite part is about your job?
The fact that I wake up every day and don't dread going to work. And I think that is something that everyone should aspire to do and aspire to obtain. Because the job I had before this, I was like, I have such bad anxiety, meeting new people, being pressured and all that. Like, who doesn't? But I have it bad. And my last job, my first full-time job, which was out of college, was a train wreck. Horrifying. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. I think they actually fired everyone during quarantine. Shows you how like bad people they are. And I can go on about that. But Barstool, maybe as an intern, I was nervous. With like the important personalities we have here, like Big Cat and Dave, and like they're so important. It's like sometimes I would feel like I don't fit here. Like why? Like they are so much more talented than me and all that. But at the end of the day, waking up every day now and being happy to go to work and watch live streams of the Yankees, do a podcast for the Yankees, blog about anything I want, tweet. It's a whole lot of fun. So that is my favorite part by far.
Yeah, I always look forward to your tweets every day, especially during games.
Me too.
I don't know why people like my tweets, but they do. So I'm going to keep doing them.
Yep.
But thank you, ladies.
Of course. So now moving on to the ALDS, we just saw that Kyle Higashioka is starting over Gary Sanchez. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we recorded the show last night, and I was pleading for this. Higgy should be the guy. He's by far the best defensive catcher they have, as you've seen with Cole. And I'm still mesmerized by the game one in that fifth inning, the base loaded, where they had a cross up, and Higgy thought a fastball was coming, and Cole threw a curveball. And Cole's curveballs are no normal curveballs, and Higgy was able to catch it and save it.
Yeah.
That play is like stuck in my brain. And Cole talked about after the game how important that play was, but just like, if that's Gary Sanchez, 3 runs might have scored on that play. So,
I would have passed him.
Yeah, and you want to play Gary for his bat, obviously, but Higgy's hitting too. Like Higgy hit a homer in game 1. Higgy had a single. He even walked. He hadn't walked in like 2 years. I think it was some crazy stat with that. But Gary missed so many fastballs down the middle last night with men on that really could have made a really big impact late in that game. And if he's not going to hit, he's not going to catch. So I think it's a no-brainer. The scariest part here is the familiarity with Tanaka and Higgy, where Tanaka has only thrown to him once this year. Granted, it was, I believe it was against the Rays, and it was 6 innings, 2 runs. So I'll take – if they do that tonight, they're going to win. And he's thrown to Gary more, but the numbers aren't as great. So I really think you play the hot hand here, and this kind of solidifies that Gary Sanchez is no longer the Yankee starting catcher. It's Kyle Higashioka, and I'm happy for him. He's a good dude. He's been on my podcast. He's very humble in everything he does. He's hardworking, and I'm very happy for the moment for him, and I hope he crushes it tonight. I think it's the right move.
Yeah,
I agree. He seems like a great guy too. A little bit of a similar question. We saw the Brett Gardner starting in left field tonight. How do you feel about Brett Gardner versus Clint Frazier?
Clint is my guy, and I'm going to bring up the stat of why I think is what I just saw is why I think this is happening. So Clint against Charlie Morton career in 22 at-bats is hitting .364 with 2 doubles and 3 homers, 6 RBIs, .864 slugging. I think that's why he's starting tonight. Also, the play in left last night, Clint's been great fielding, but that play in left where he had to make like an Odell Beckham type catch, I almost if he dropped that, I think I would have just evaporated and my clothes would have just been sitting on the chair and I would have just been dead. I felt my soul leaving my body when that was happening. That's not a knock on Clint. He's never played that left field before. He came a long way. He was shifted over and he made the play. He is the better hitter, but maybe Gardner's the better hitter against Morton tonight, especially a lefty righty. I don't hate the move. I would have despised the move if it was game 1 against Snell because lefty, that just made no sense. And Clint obviously showed up and hit the homer. It does, as idiotic as Boone is, it does seem like he's pushing the right buttons with who plays left field in what game. With Gardner in the Indian series, he comes through in that game 1. Clint in game 1 of this one. So hopefully he pushes the right button tonight. I don't hate the move. I don't know if it's the right move, but I'm not going to get butthurt over it. I totally see what they're doing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
And what were your thoughts on Gleyber stealing second in game 1?
Loved it. If you're going to Pedro Martinez, give me a break, guy. Talking about respecting opponents when he's thrown a 72-year-old bench coach down on the ground in the middle of a brawl. So spare me with that, Pedro.
Yeah.
Not that anyone should ever give him the time of day of his opinion. But as you saw all year, I feel like the narrative was like, forget the unwritten rules of baseball. There's a reason they're unwritten. It's because they're so stupid to write in the first place.
Yeah.
And in the regular season, okay, still don't agree with it. I hate the idea of any sport letting your foot off the gas because you've seen crazy comebacks all the time. And not just that, I almost think it's more insulting to try less against your opponent than to, just try as you normally are. I think it's like, oh, these guys literally view us as such an inferior opponent that they don't want to try the sport anymore that we're playing. So that's just my opinion on that. But in terms of the situation, 6-run game in the 9th inning, the Yankees had just scored 5 in that inning alone. So how far-fetched is it that they're going to score, like the Rays aren't going to wave the white flag and be like, oh, you guys didn't steal second, game over, right? No, the Rays are going to try very hard. And I think a lot of times you saw this season where a guy like, let's say, Holder or Sessa came into a blowout game, and they messed up so badly that they had to use Chad Green and Aroldis Chapman. So I think I thought it was funny that it was the guy's major league debut, and obviously he's not going to care about the guy on first. So you take that advantage. I love it, especially in the postseason. There's no such thing, in my opinion, as letting your foot off the gas in the postseason. That's idiotic. I wouldn't stand for it ever. So I love the move, and I can't stand Kevin Cash. So if he didn't like the move, that made me happy inside. But yeah, I'm all about that. I couldn't feel stronger about that.
Yeah, same.
Exactly.
So what are your thoughts on last night's pitching disaster?
I think it could go down if this series doesn't go the way – I still feel good, but if it doesn't go the way it should, it will go down as one of the more infamous Yankees postseason losses in their franchise's history because of the momentum you had after Game 1 with Cole. And just almost a complete effort offensively and defensively. They just played almost a perfect game. And they tried to outsmart one of the smarter teams in baseball. With the Rays do that because all their pitchers buy into it. All 13 of those guys, 14 of those guys know the plan going in. Whereas like you tell J Happ and Debbie that plan, like they're not used to this. They're just like, all right, like, and then afterwards, like, why the hell are we doing that? So. I thought it was just trying to be – it was such an unnecessary move, trying to outsmart the Rays when we didn't need to. Just pitch Debbie Garcia. He's the top pitch. He's one of the top pitching prospects of all of baseball, and he's shown to you this year the moment doesn't bother him. Yeah, he gave up a solo homer. That guy, Arozarena, is playing like Mike Trout right now. He's hitting homers off anybody. So it's one bad pitch. Sure, he threw like 27 pitches, but you could have gotten 4 innings out of him there, and that 4 innings could have – bridge the gap to Lasagna for 2, and then you get to your normal guys, and it's like it's like no one is going to be surprised and stunned and like worried about J Happ coming into any baseball game. And don't tell me like the 3.46 ERA he had in the regular season. I thought it was the fakest ERA ever, the way he like finished the year. We know J Happ. He's not good. Yeah. Especially as like a reliever in that role where you're not warming up the right way as you should be. So I thought it was just an idiotic move. I really hope they're able to just put it behind them, and they come out tonight firing, and Tanaka's got to be playoff Tanaka. The redemption from him pitching in that hurricane last week, and that was a disaster. But for him, especially because you never know when it could be his contract's up, so this could be it for Tanaka. So I just want him to go out on such a good note, and that would be with World Series championship number 28. So I want him to pitch really well tonight, and I want them to get past whatever the hell happened last game and never do that ever again. And if they do win tonight, I want Debbie pitching Game 4. I think he'll be good. I think he said last night he's capable of pitching even tonight. They're not going to do that, but I would be totally fine with him starting the game. Actually, start him and pitch him into 3 or 4 innings. Whatever he can give you into Game 4, and never let me see J Happ ever again, ever. Yeah. So those are my thoughts. I was not happy with the move. Clearly,
I feel the same way. I think Davey definitely deserved that actual start. But how do you feel about Jordan Montgomery as a starter during the postseason?
J-Mo used to be my guy. He still is my guy. I advocated for him to make the rotation when he was first coming up as a rookie, and he had a good spring training in 2018. And then obviously he gets hurt, but he had a good year. His rookie year was very good, 2017. But if they lose tonight and I got Montgomery on the mound in Game 4, Oh boy, I just don't know. He's capable of pitching great. We've seen that, but also capable of like just having nothing. So you just don't know with Montgomery. I was begging you for it to not even get to a game 4, but it looks like it's got. I mean, it has to. Let's just hope that Montgomery isn't pitching in an elimination game, because that would further prove that this game 2 disaster was just so unbelievably dumb. So hopefully Tanaka pitches well tonight and they're able to, just be able to win 1 of game 4 or 5, and 5 would be with Cole. So that's the goal. But Montgomery does scare me.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to get with him.
No.
And with all that being said, what are your predictions for the rest of the series?
I think they win tonight. There's some good numbers with the whole team against Morton. I do also like that the Rays used their 3 big guns out of the pen yesterday for 20-plus pitches each. That's going to take a toll with these three straight games to go here. At some point, you have to get tired, even though Nick Anderson seems like this cyborg guy. But the Yankees bullpen is relatively rested. And I have faith in Tanaka. It'll be pristine conditions in San Diego for him, which always does him well. And no one feels the big moment better than him and thrives in it. So I think Tanaka will pitch well. And then game 4, I don't know who the Rays will pitch, and this could really be interesting if they can somehow knock Morton out early, and then they have to get into that bullpen. And then who the hell do you pitch in game 4 for them? If their plan was probably to go to a bullpen game, it's like, yikes. I don't know. Probably Ryan Yarbrough. I haven't seen him tonight this series, but I think they win in 5. I think it will come down to Cole, and I trust Garrett. And I said this last night, how Cole didn't get used in that game 7 of the World Series against the Nationals, and he was just warming up in the pen on 3 days rest. He's ready to go. That's like, he's gonna get his spot this time, and I trust Garrett Cole with my life. So I think they win in 5.
Certainly hope so.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
We have one last question for you. So obviously it's hard to say with the rest of the postseason. We don't know what it's going to bring. But if you have the responsibilities of Brian Cashman, what would you do in the offseason for the Yankees?
I wouldn't even pick up the phone if J-Hab asked if he's coming back. I'd just block his number. I'd move on from Paxton. Those guys, he's up as well. Listen, he had a great postseason start against the Astros last year, but too many injuries. It sucks. There's a lot of potential with him. And when he's going, he's got it going. He's very, very exciting to watch, but too many injuries to rely upon just sucks. Nothing you can do about it. It's just the kind of pitcher he is. He had it in Seattle too. So I'd let him walk too. I'd bring back Tanaka. I think he would want to come back now, unless he wants to just go back to Japan. I don't think Tanaka will pitch for another MLB team besides the Yankees next year or moving forward. I think he'll either retire a Yankee or continue to pitch for the Yankees. But I try to bring him back just because he's such a veteran, and everyone loves Masa, and he's adorable, and his hair, and he's just magnificent. So I would do whatever I can to bring him back on a short-term deal. I'm sure he'd accept it, unless he wants to go back to Japan. And that COVID might play a part in that, to be honest. So that could be a huge thing with his family and all that. I would say 5 days after the season ends that Clark Schmidt is in the rotation next year, not even screw around with it, because it's ridiculous what they did with him this year. And he's come on our pockets. He's a very good dude. We root for him, and he's super, super talented. So I would go into next year with the rotation of obviously Cole. Luis Severino is a guy everyone forgets. That's a lot of fun to have his name back in the picture. That would be cool, especially with the relief of not being the number 1 pitcher anymore, which I think actually struggles with his brain and his mentality. I think the pressure will be off. He'll pitch much better. But he probably won't be back till mid-season, I would guess, and then it's innings limit. But he'll be in the fold, which would be good. But I'd go Cole, I'd go Clark Schmidt, I'd go Debbie, and then
him on.
Oh, right, and that is a big question. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like what he did. I feel uncomfortable with what he did. Obviously, the baseball side of it, he's a very good pitcher, and he had a great season. Based off what they did with Chapman, I'd expect them to give him a second chance. And I do believe in second chances. If you show like the growth and you actually took it seriously, I think that's just a fair thing. But we'll see. I feel uneasy about Herman. Now he did just get reinstated and all that. And the Yankees didn't reinstate in baseball, did they? Made that clear. But we'll see. I guess he will be in the role in the fold, I'm sure. And then you have Montgomery too. They're not going to give up Montgomery. He's young and he's good and he's a lefty. I just don't know about him in a postseason elimination game. But I'd expect a lot of young guys. Maybe they go add one more veteran starter. Maybe I forget what the market looks like. People will say Trevor Bauer.
Yeah.
He's never coming to New York.
No.
He's going to go to San Diego with Clevenger or somewhere. He's not going to come pitch with Garrett Cole. He hates Garrett Cole from college. That's a feud that they will never get over. I don't think they do that to Garrett Cole. They just gave 9 years to. And then offensively, there's not a whole lot you can do with the contracts, but I'd move on from Gary. And like kind of, I don't know about how you can do it because he's still going to be under contract and all that, but I'd firmly go with Higashioka. I just love what I see out of him.
Yeah.
Clint would be my everyday left fielder. Gardner will probably want to come back because he's Gardner. But I'm done with him as a consistent left fielder, and I think they are too. I think they realize Clint is the guy. So, yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do. I guess – I break open the bank. Before any of this, I forgot. DJ LeMahieu, I give him a 5 – I'm sorry. I apologize to DJ. I'm sure he's going to listen to this. But 5 years, $100 million at the minimum, and I go up from there. Whatever he wants to do. You want an island? Do you just want the keys to every like building in New York? What do you want, man? Do you want us to rename the team after you? Like, do you want to be the coach too? Like Jackie? Like, sure, whatever you want, man. Because like that guy is maybe the best hitter I've ever seen, and obviously Mike Trout's alive, but forget him because his team doesn't make the playoffs. So DJ LeMahieu, he is just everything and more. He is just the perfect Yankee. Along with what I said about Matsui fitting in well with the '98 Yankees, DJ would have as well, like the perfect Yankee. So I would be devastated if like the Mets got him. I wouldn't live with myself. People were like, "Oh, Lindor." No. DJ LeMahieu is the bring him back. Whatever you have to do, I hope to God they do it immediately. Like the moment they either win the World Series or get eliminated, just announce the contract. There's no number too high that I'd be like, didn't like that. No. Whatever it is, just tell me DJ LeMahieu is re-signing, and it'll be a fantastic point of the offseason. So that is the most important thing. Everything else will fall into place, rotation-wise, lineup, but bring back DJ LeMahieu, whatever you do.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think about like Tyler Wade, Tyro Estrada, like those kind of backups?
Tyler Wade's really handsome. He's really fast. He's stylish. He's just cool. He doesn't really know how to hit the baseball. But he seems to have something on Cashman that he comes back every year, and it's just always in play. I don't know how. And there's always so much potential with him. But I mean, he's under control for like I think 3 more years, so he'll probably come back in a backup role. Tyro Estrada, I had a lot of hope for this year, and it didn't really. I don't know why it didn't like. He had just had such an off year, and previous years he was such a good hitter, and they could have obviously used that this year with the injuries, Gleyber and all that, but and Gio. But I mean, they're young guys who are under contract, so I'd assume they'll be back in some capacity.
Yeah.
Not in starting roles, obviously, but I wouldn't mind them coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And then there's the question about Andahar. Don't really know what to do with him.
Yeah.
I don't even have an answer for you besides trade him, but like his trade value is so low, but you can't play Giancarlo in the outfield. You got to DH him. You're not moving Gio. Gio's unbelievable. And you're not putting him in the outfield. I don't trust him at all with his hands. Maybe the worst hands I've ever seen. So Andahar is a sad story that hopefully he just goes on another team and rakes and it doesn't bother the Yankees, doesn't like the National League or something. But I do feel for him because I think he tries. I think he hustles his butt off to get better, but he's just not a good fielder, and there's really no place on the team for him, which really stinks. So they probably would move on from him, is my guess, in the offseason. They'd do some sort of trade. I think that's the only thing you could do with him.
Yeah, I feel like you benefit better like on a smaller organization for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. I'm just confused. Like, he's in the DR right now, I think, and Eric Kratz is still in the dugout, like, hyping them up. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah. weird dynamic. I mean, COVID has everyone in different spots.
Yeah.
So weird.
Yeah. Sorry. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. We really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You guys got it. Happy to come on again if you guys need me. This is awesome. Actually, very, very good question. Sometimes I do these podcasts with like, and like they're just random, whatever. This was like really good, free flowing. You guys crushed it.
Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, let me know when it comes out, and I'll like retweet it and stuff for sure.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, go Yankees. Let's please win tonight.
Yeah.
And let's talk soon. All right.
Nice talking to you.
Bye.
Bye.
We just want to thank Eric Hubbs again for coming on. This was a great episode, and we really enjoyed talking about the Yankees with him. Thank you all for listening.
Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Spotify, SoundCloud, and Apple Podcasts.
Thanks again for all the support, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.